What up, everybody? We're a couple minutes late because Geno was serenading me with songs of love. Of love.
I was singing "Sexy Boy"
Mm-hmm.
because every time I get on here, Sean's not on, and I have to try to get him on, and I do that by singing to him.
Mm-hmm.
Sean,
I'm shy, and I have to be lured onto the air every week.
yes, he thinks he's cute, but he knows he's sexy.
That's right.
Couple things, Sean. How are you?
I'm all right, man. How are you?
I'm good. How was your Valentine's Day? That was Sunday, right? Or Sunday, as my old man would say.
It was Sunday.
How was your Valentine's Day?
It was fine.
Did you have a Valentine?
I had two. I had you, of course, and also my wife. So.
See, that's my point that I wanted to get to here. That was set up because I don't believe I heard from you at all on Sunday, and I am not going to lie to you. I may have laid in bed and cried tears for at least 20 minutes.
I thought that was just implied. I mean, our love is strong enough to transcend any one calendar day.
This is true, but it wouldn't kill you to tell me.
Sorry.
Yes, but did you have a good day?
It was fine. Yeah, it's my in-laws were in town. It's my father-in-law's birthday is the 14th, and Julie's birthday is coming up on Thursday. So it's always weird. It's like she gets this whole like week-long celebration. So we're doing most of the stuff on her actual birthday. She's got the day off. So
right on. All the best to you and your lovely wife.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also,
I do have a story. My father-in-law,
all right,
who is convinced that if he just like watches this YouTube show enough that I'll be rich. He doesn't understand. He's not a wrestling fan either, so that's the other thing. But he did. He sat me down. He was very serious, and he said he needed to talk to me about that guy that I do the show with, the language that he uses.
Is that a shoot?
That is a shoot.
Oh man.
And what's even better, though, is that then I explained that that at least some of that rage and potty mouth behavior comes from the fact that you, like he, are a Mediacom customer.
Oh, yeah.
And he understood at that point. He was like, oh, good. Well, fuck that then, yeah.
So. Part of it is gimmick, too, because the people listening to this expect it from me, and I don't know how to get out from under that.
Even though you're positive, Geno, now, you're still...
I'm trying, man.
You got to have that edge.
You know what it is I'm happy in life now. There was a very long period of time there where I was just miserable, but I found some happiness in my life.
Oh,
yes, very. Fuck you. And with apologies to Sean, it's your father-in-law. You said
yes, Julie's dad. Yep.
With apologies to Julie's dad. Also, you can go fuck yourself. Anyway, also another thing before we get to wrestling, and we're pulling a WWE Raw by talking about anything else here. Sean, I learned today that Sean is just a goofy son of a bitch. He gets water.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a drink of water, and he said, "Yeah, I need my water." Mm-hmm. Immediately after taking a drink of water, I see him turn to the other side.
This side.
And he takes a drink from his coffee mug. Sean, explain to the people how you're just a complete goon.
I have a couple of I don't know what you want to call them, idiosyncrasies, perhaps is the word. I am addicted to lip gloss, which I think we've covered on this show before. I can't go anywhere without some sort of balm because if my lips dry out, I have a fucking panic attack. Not really a panic attack, but not far from it. I mean, it just ruins my whole fucking day. And I have got to have I have to have a caffeinated beverage and an ice cold glass of water with me at pretty much all times. You can find out where Sean is in any given environment by the fact that there are 2 cups wherever that is. So
2 cups, 1 Sean.
2 cups, 1 Sean. I don't know what that is.
So the coffee's hot, right?
Yes.
But ice cold water.
Ice cold water. But sometimes it's Diet Coke and ice cold water, which then they're both ice cold.
Yeah, Sean also waits till I'm talking when I go off on my rants and then like ducks under the camera and puts his lip stuff on.
Mm-hmm. I do.
It's cute as hell.
Yep.
All right, let's talk some wrestling.
All right, let's do it. Oh, I thought you had something.
You're the host of this fucking show.
I am? I never knew that.
Now I'm going to be self-conscious about Julie's dad.
Don't be. He's
hearing me cursing.
He's fine. He curses sometimes on his own. His dad was like, he's like Daniel Bryan. His dad was like a lumberjack in fucking the woods of Washington State. So he's heard stuff before.
He's heard stuff.
He's heard it before.
He's heard stuff. He's heard some things, man.
I hope he listens to this one and he'll like text me and be like, and I'll be like, welcome to kayfabe.
Yep, you have been introduced into the work. Okay.
Wrestling, Raw. Raw was a show. I missed parts of it. I had to watch it on a little bit of the Hulu gimmick, a little bit of YouTube. I'm one of those people this week because we were having some ice last night and I was having some Comcast issues. But unfortunately, I tuned in for the part of the show where WWE just fucking tapped out and just put on like a Zack Ryder match and didn't give a shit. So the stuff that I saw live wasn't that great, but what I've been able to catch up on happened for 2 hours before I could tune in. Seems like it was a great show.
And by the way, there is the ice situation. So if Sean's internet shits out, I'm just going to let all of you know ahead of time, insiders. I'm not going to stick around to try to save the ship from sinking. I'm going to be that guy on the Titanic jumping off, punching grandmas, getting into lifeboats. Well, I'm not doing it.
That's also because you're a big shot and you're on every goddamn radio show in the universe these days. And I know you have another gig scheduled like as soon as this is done. So I'm sure that's why.
I do. That's true.
Mr. Big Swinging Dick Geno Morosco.
I've been asked on a lot of them lately, and they seem to like me because I don't know why. Someone asked me to come on their show when they do their WrestleMania show and give them all of my names for Big Strong McDick Cheese, which
how did that poor bastard get dick cheese?
You know what? I don't even know, dude. It comes on and like
Oh, we went there early. Geno tickled himself early this week, ladies and germs.
Dick cheese. Is this
McDick cheese? Yeah. Is that on the McDonald's menu, McDick cheese? The dollar menu?
Oh man, it should be. They got rid of the dollar menu.
Oh, did they?
They should just replace it with that. We'll give you food for $1, but it's dick cheese. Okay, we have to talk about this show.
Oh, all right. Well, we don't have to. The vote last week, I think, was that we should talk about everything in the world of wrestling. So we don't have to slavishly break down Raw the way we have in years past.
You should probably drop the Raw review part of the title.
I know. I wasn't sure what we were going to do yet, so I just stuck with old habits. I do that at like 2 a.m. on Monday nights, so
that's not true. He's lying.
1? I don't know.
I like
I'm
the
having
show.
Coffee.
Yeah, I like the show a lot.
Wow, you're a fucking Pollyanna these days.
Until the third hour. They got to the main event. The third hour was pretty bad, I thought.
Yeah.
Your girl Sasha is mean.
Exactly. That's why I love her.
She's, she left my girl Becky out to dry.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Looked real tough. She somehow got that Brock Lesnar deal where she walked out and
really?
looked like a badass and then left. Got her music played like twice.
Mm-hmm. Those fucking Gucci leggings and the boots and shit. I mean, yeah, fuck.
What does that have to do with anything?
It says I am not to be messed with. If you
okay.
walk out there in those leggings and the heel boots. Well, first of all, she can't run because she's wearing those boots.
Yeah,
and that's intimidating. And then I guess Tamina didn't want to get like stabbed with them, so she failed. I don't know. It was a little weird that Tamina's in there like hitting another Samoan drop on Becky while Sasha slowly walks around the ring. I don't.
Yeah.
Not how I would have drawn it up, even though I want Sasha to stay a tweener character, but
is she a tweener?
I think she's a heel, but they seem to be. I mean, like that was a spot that you would write for a babyface, but then she didn't act like a babyface, so I don't know what the fuck they're doing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but
it was kind of true. Somebody said that it was more like she deliberately waited to get in. and Becky took more damage. And Becky just sort of went with it like she didn't have a problem with Sasha.
Well, that's what was weird to me is I was waiting for Becky to store. I thought they would really play up the animosity, and like when Sasha went to put her hand on Becky's shoulder, maybe Becky would shove her away or something.
You know what I appreciated?
Yeah. Probably something about Becky Lynch.
No, actually, I appreciated that Sasha was wearing what she was wearing because I feel like that meant she got to the show and wasn't booked and was like, fuck it, I'm not getting my gear then. Fuck you guys. And just did, like, King Barrett's been wearing his gear every time he's been on TV. Dude hasn't done anything physical in like 2 months.
Maybe he's like Randy Orton and he just prefers to just be in some briefs and nothing else.
That's true. He's always got the shirt on, never wearing pants.
Nope.
I can dig it, brother. I hate pants too.
There you go.
But yeah, I thought it was cool that she just came out and was like, you know what? Let me take these motherfucking earrings off right now.
Mm-hmm. That's how you know shit's about to get real.
Yeah, she looked really cool. I thought it was good. So that was fine. But they headlined this show. They actually did it. These people sat down and they said, we've got a great episode of Raw. I think the writing's tight. We've got some good stuff that's going to lead into the pay-per-view this Sunday. Everything's going to work out. It's wonderful. This should do good numbers, and this should be great, and this should help this, and we're headed into WrestleMania, pals. Everything's great. Oh, by the way, Big Show.
Oh, you were doing so well. Big Show versus... Well, we're waiting.
No, I can't do it. I wanted it so bad, I can't.
Oh.
I'll just say his real name, Braun Strowman. That's not even his real name. You know what his real name is, I learned?
No, I don't know it.
Adam.
Really?
Big-ass bastard named Adam.
It's sort of terrifying. I mean, that's, Adam.
They said, like, he met Vince, and he's like, hey, pal, what's your name? I'm Adam. How are you? You're not Adam. You're Braun.
You're Braun Strowman.
And you were a strong man. You're Braun Strowman.
Is his last name McStrongman? I hope, though, it's Adam McStrongman, right? That's a shoot.
It's, yes.
Adam McDickcheese?
What people don't realize is I've been using his real name the whole time. His real name's actually Big Ass McStrongman.
That makes sense to me because if he was born with that giant, adorable baby face that he has, I would probably look at him and say, you know what? Fuck Adam. We're going to call him Big Ass.
When he knocked Big Show down and did that scream, that primal howl, and then, like, as soon as he was done, he, like, looked over and the baby face returned. Just his actual, and not like good guy, like actually his face.
Right, exactly, right. I was confused for a second, and then I caught up with you.
Here's what I think. I was certain in that moment that man at some time or another has consumed a real life human baby. Like he ate a baby, and that's what he probably just eats babies. That's how he is who he is. That's how
that messes you. I don't know. Have you ever seen the movie Snowpiercer?
I have not.
Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen Snowpiercer.
Oh, fuck off. Just say it.
Well, no, I mean it's a key plot point. The eating of babies is a key plot point, and nobody looks like Braun Strowman in the movie. Captain America still looks like Captain America.
My theory is flawed.
Well, I think Snowpiercer is based on like a French comic book, so they probably don't know anything about eating babies. If anybody knows about eating babies, it's Americans.
I'm going to watch that movie and be like, this is horrible writing. None of them look like babies after eating the babies. What the fuck's going on?
This is bullshit. That's the old Geno. I do miss Geno time every once in a while. Just the outrage and just nonsense. I do miss that. That's sort of what Julie's like, actually. So that's probably why you and I appeal to
Julie's like me? Like
she is. She just doesn't. Off? She has, and this is a shoot, she has the lowest tolerance for bullshit of any person I've ever met. She just doesn't.
How does that manifest itself? Like, is it like, so you'll try to tell like a white lie or something, and she'll be like, "You're so full of shit, Sean."
That way, yes. Although she usually like threatens to kick me in the balls or something. So.
Julie is a delight.
it's that. I mean, in terms of just like us being goofy, it's that. Like I'm a goofball, and she's just like you're an idiot, and that's like our dynamic. You know, couples have like their public dynamic. That's ours. And then in real life, it worries me sometimes because like anything from like politics to just like little shit, she just fucking she'll blow her top over it, and it's just not healthy for somebody to be that way. So I worry about like her blood pressure and her mental health and things like that because.
Oh man, I hope she never listens to this show.
Oh, she knows. This is all the secret to a happy relationship. Everybody is don't hide any of this bullshit. We know. This is all.
The other secret is don't broadcast it to the website that gets hundreds of
right.
minutes every day.
Well, okay. Oh man, I'm done.
And it was in that moment he knew.
I better go eat some babies.
She's to give you a baby face so she won't want to.
Baby face so she won't recognize. That's my only hope at this point.
Yeah, that way maybe she'll show you some mercy. But you make it sound like she just stab you in the face anyway.
Just kick me in the balls. Yeah, I'm like Undertaker. She just punched me right in the dick, and that's
your weakness.
Mm-hmm. Among many, it's Taker's only weakness. I have a whole list.
No, that's Brock's weakness.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, shit. Yeah, it's Taker's secret weapon.
Taker's weakness is that he's old as fuck. Brock's is his decrepit bones, but Brock's weakness is that he has the dick. Hit him in it.
There was a whole. I didn't do anything on it because it's stupid. But there was a whole wrestling internet was all aflutter yesterday because there's a fucking picture of Undertaker's back at the gym. So
I did see that.
He's not decrepit. He's kind of jacked. But
Undertaker looking ripped. I looked and it was just his back, and it looks weird as shit. Looks like the letter W.
Like Sesame Street. Yeah, but so he's kind of tied together with like gum and rubber bands, but he's not
gum
decrepit.
And rubber bands. Not duct tape.
Not duct tape. No.
Band-aids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What were we talking about?
I don't even know. Big man.
Oh, yeah. I was covering for you giggling because you couldn't even say Braun Strowman's name.
Yeah, they had a match. I was really disappointed by the match because I was like the staunchest advocate for it. Like, and they were like, "Oh my!" Everyone on Twitter, are they actually going to fucking main event with this nonsense? Which, let's be real, guys. So many of you have tuned out by then. Like, this show really felt like anything important is within the first 2 hours, and all the shit that like is sort of add-on is in that last hour because the ratings patterns have told them that's how they should do it. So of course, but for me, of course, I'm pumping it up. I'm going, of course it's the main event. The main event's the only thing big enough to hold all this beef, baby. Just a bunch of man meat, and I want it flying around and hitting people in the face. The match starts, and they're just they're staring down. What are you looking at?
Just to be clear, you want to be hit in the face with man meat, correct?
Yes, man meat flying around and just fucking hit me in the face with it. And the match starts, and they're staring across. They're standing across from each other, and they're staring each other down, and I'm just pumped. I'm at home just excited. Pants are off, waiting for this epic collision. And they come together and collar and elbow tie it. Fellas, see, this is what I mean about psychology and understanding what works and what doesn't. And Big Show's a smart guy. I mean, if you watch the podcast with Steve Austin, he's a very intelligent man, especially as it pertains to the wrestling business. What in the fucking world made him think the right thing to do in a match with Braun Strongman was
Braun Strongman is like that's combining the Keith Slater gimmick with the big ass Big Strongman gimmick into the perfect gimmick. Oh, Braun. Oh wow, Braun Strongman.
Fuck, dude. Can't do it.
Oh man, yeah. Yep. So they thought. So all I can think is one, Stone Cold. If you watch the podcast, which I recommend, was very complimentary of the fact that they went grappling. He thought it was, it subverted expectations, and Stone Cold liked it.
Oh, geez. I mean, it's not. If I'm subverting expectations, does not equal good. I mean, if I'm expecting a blowjob and you just kick me in the ball sack,
that's cool. Swerve.
Yep. Swerve. And if you say that right after, I'll die. I'll be in pain and wanting to laugh. Yeah, that doesn't mean it's good, Stone.
The only thing I can think is that they're like saving. Well, a couple things. I guess one is that maybe he's not ready for the full. We're not ready for the full strongman experience, and he's not ready to unleash it yet.
Right, and he's gonna do a drop kick one day, and the breaking news banner will come out. Strongman defies physics. World collapses. No, so it's another fun. I had my worst dad joke in the history of Cageside Flair last night. Because I was thinking, these guys' gimmick names and everything, and it's Stone Cold Steve Austin and it's Big Show. I just think if you I know them well, you know someone well enough, you just use their first names. So Stone and Big were sitting down to have a conversation. And then I thought about it, and I was like, do you think there's some mark out there who wanted to be super respectful of Steve Austin and went up to him to ask for a picture and said, "Excuse me, Mr. Colt?" It's the worst dad joke I've ever made in my life, but I thought it was funny.
See, I thought that was a Deadpool reference because that's what the taxi cab driver calls him, Mr. Pool.
It wasn't. I did go and see that, though. They actually asked us to talk about that in the thread.
I know. Yeah.
It's a good movie.
I'm not going to do it because I'm all about denying them what they want.
Is that a fact?
I ain't singing either.
Is that a fact? You know what? I think that's why I love you. Delayed gratification.
There you go. Subverting expectations and whatnot. That's why Stone Cold.
Swerve!
Why Stone Cold loves me.
That's why our buddy Stone's a big fan of you.
Yep, Mr. Cold.
Mr. It just changes everything about him when you just think of it. Oh, that's Stone. Yeah. Hey, how's Stone doing? Anyway, I don't agree with him at all here. Unstoppable force, immovable object, dude. It's like Hogan and Warrior in the 90 Rumble. They just fucking hit the ropes and ran into each other. That's what you should do when you're gigantic, big, beefy dudes like that. And they didn't. Collar and elbow tie-up. I'll be fucking damned.
Do you think so? What do you think about? So I think it's become apparent that the strategy is that they will build the pay-per-views by making us think the Wyatts are a big deal, and then they'll job them out on not bury them, but maybe because they get jobbed all the time. Does that work? Does that work for say casual fans? Do people? I mean, he's still selling merchandise and he still gets pops in the arena. So, and is that a case where we're shitting on it and we shouldn't be?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that we're even shitting on it. I just thought it had potential and they didn't deliver on.
I mean, in general, though. I mean, because like I said, this is how they did the Rumble, right? Bray is an unstoppable force, and then he gets stopped. And now we're doing it again. They're taking out the Titans of WWE, as we heard 17,000 times.
Yeah, and they're going to do a 6-man at the.
Yeah, they haven't announced it yet, though, have they?
No, not yet.
Shit. So we're probably still getting that and Styles Jericho, or what will be announced in SmackDown.
Yeah. Yeah, probably, but I don't want him to work with Brock. I'm really, if that's what the plan is, it's been rumored and it's what we've heard.
It seems like it. I mean, it seems like that they're going to go over these guys, and then they'll have to face the Ultimate Titan.
Yeah, and I mean, what's interesting about that? I just don't see it. I just don't.
I'm thinking.
Yeah. What's the angle?
Well, we'll get to see Brock suplex all 4 of them at WrestleMania.
I mean, maybe
that's the attraction. Is Brock overcoming all 4 of them, and he'll make it entertaining. I mean, I'd watch him throw a table around, so I'll watch him throw Braun Strongman around.
Yes, and I don't know, but I can't even that whole thing that they're doing with the Wyatt family right now is to me pretty uninteresting as far as there's no real story. Like you said, there's a story, but it's just not. We're knocking off all the big titans of the promotion, and it's, Kane, and he's still coming up from under the ring and summoning fire, and that's the reality of how to beat strongman is just loud noises. Because if you go back and look at it, I hope there's a GIF that I can find. I'll post it. As soon as Kane's gimmick hit, the loud pop and the fire, he fucking ducked like there was a gunshot. Like that was my name for him at that time, was Scared Ass McShits his pants, because he fucking was scared as hell when that happened. But yeah, there's just nothing good there. So yeah. There's a lot of good, and I thought they did a really good job with the main storyline. Dean and Roman and Brock wasn't even there. I thought it was cool because the general idea of this show was literally everyone is just doing their best to drive a wedge between Roman and Dean and failing. Like, it doesn't matter what they say, and it doesn't matter what they do or how they, or what they tempt them with, or scenario, or however they try to manipulate them. I thought that was really cool that Stephanie gave Roman a very good reason to fuck his friend over. He could have been out of the match. I thought that was a really compelling angle to take to a match that was going to be compelling anyway, because it was a fatal 5-way, Intercontinental title was on the line. Ultimately, he lost the match. So it was all very good, and it had stakes, but it also had the added, if Roman comes out, you're disqualified from the Fastlane main event. So it was like, that gives Roman every reason in the world to come out. And then he could even say, he could come out and help him and go, I was trying to help you.
Right.
And be, right? So he's just like, I know, and Dean could know better. So that's an interesting little wrinkle there. And then later it was Heyman just trying to manipulate him into creating a family versus family sort of scenario. Like, you do what's best for your daughter, or do what's best for your brother, and just try to fuck with him that way, which is not the case at all. Not really. And Roman didn't take the bait. I just thought it was all very, and then I thought it was really good when, it's so simplistic for people to be like, oh, they teased the Dean Ambrose heel turn. I think you're really selling yourself short when you're watching it, if that's all you're coming away, if that's all you're getting out of that. Like, when you come away from it, you're like, oh, they teased the heel turn. It's just so simplistic way to watch it. You're not getting much out of it when you do that, because I don't think that's the case at all.
I don't think that's well. I mean, I in defense of people like that, I'm sure there are people who only got that out about it and they just want to be snarky about it. But I think that's one read. I mean, that's the I don't want to use the word genius because that's overselling it. But what WWE deserves credit for here is that they have. I mean, really, the only outcome that we're not expecting is Brock to win, right? I mean, it could be Roman or it could be Dean, and conventional wisdom and the rumors still are that it's going to be Roman, but they've done a good job in the month that they had of convincing us that it could go either way. So,
or if it was Brock, we wouldn't be surprised.
Right. You're never surprised if it's Brock. Right. But I think at this point, that would be the one outcome that would really surprise me, is if they went with that.
So I thought all of that was good. But then, he puts him in the dirty deeds, and we were like, well, Roman escaped in time. And you rewatch it. No, he didn't. Dean had him. Had his tongue out and everything. Like, was just like, I could have did that. I could have put you down, and you fucking better be faster than that on Sunday. And I thought that was really good. And then Roman's like, he just smiled at him, and he's like, all right. And the implication is clear. Is, you're my man. That's not going to change.
Right.
But Sunday, we know what we got to do.
Yep.
That's what we're going to do.
And I just proved to you that I can do it.
Exactly. And even it has the added benefit of maybe putting a little doubt in Reigns' head, or it creates all these different interesting scenarios of, man, I can't wait for this match. I'm probably more excited for how this match will play out and what they'll ultimately do as far as booking, what they'll ultimately do as far as what they think is the best thing they could do for their business and going forward, and even what happens because of how it affects the story. I feel like I don't want to oversell it. Like you said, genius is kind of too much praise, but this has been fucking unbelievably well done, despite how it started, which was just the worst way imaginable. Impress us and we'll throw it all in there, and they just sort of threw it together. But they fucking absolutely just hit home run after home run as far as how they've been building this up. I think it's great. Yeah. Here's a question for you.
All right.
Why does it seem like, did you feel like a lot of people feel today in watching this for the past few weeks that they've maybe called an audible? Is it possible that Dean is actually, because if I didn't know better, I'd think they strapped the rocket to his ass. Looking at Raw this week, SmackDowns, the Raws the couple weeks before. I mean, this story is Brock, Dean, and then Roman's a wild card. It's not, you wouldn't think that the guy they're planning on headlining Mania with would be Reigns out of these three. You'd think he'd be the last option, right?
I mean, I think that's what I was going to say earlier too. It's to answer that question and allows me to get to that point, which is that at this point, yes, they've convinced me that maybe they are doing that. I still don't think they are though. But that's my smarky brain, right? That's not, I mean, if I just go with the story, it looks like this is Dean's story, right? It looks like Brian, I mean, it looks kind of, it's a different version of Brian's ascension at Mania a couple of years ago. So yes, they've convinced me that that's a possibility, but I still think that they're going to go with putting Roman over. And that's where I think we're going to have to, we can look at within the story and going with it moment to moment. It's been really compelling and good. I think we're going to have to look back on it next week, in a month, 2 months down the road, with what they do with it to see if they pick the best way to accomplish their goals.
Do you think
if they're really trying, if the plan is still to get Roman over as the top guy, I don't know that this was the best way to do it. I don't know yet. I mean, it's not over yet, so I'm not judging it. I'm just saying that's it. I think that's an interesting way to look at it. If they're not, I mean, if the goal is to just create as much interest and angles and possibilities for Sunday, and that maybe, like, I mean, if the goal is to get Dean over super big, then they've done it perfectly right, I think. So that accomplishes the goal of getting us interested in thinking it's a possibility. But if that's not what they're doing, if this was to set up a swerve of sorts, in that they make us think we're going with one guy, but then we're not going to go with that guy, I don't know if that's the best idea in the long term. But we'll have to wait and see.
Right, and I think maybe they're even looking at it like, so we need to create interest in this match where people think there is no interest. Everyone thinks Reigns is winning. Now we need to change that. So if that's been the idea with television, they've done a phenomenal job of exactly that, where I now feel like I wouldn't be surprised at any outcome. And I'm very curious to see where they actually go with it. So in that respect, they've done a really good job. They can also, looking at it like that, lean on, well, okay, even if we go with Reigns, which I believe is still the plan, then we still made Ambrose. He's still over as fuck. Like, they still got him to a point that he wasn't before. And just because they're not going to continue on that path, at least as far as his main event trajectory, doesn't mean he's not still over. It just means that Reigns is going to continue down that. Now, it's fair to look at the other side of that coin and go, okay, but in doing that, does that mean that you're going to put Roman into a worse situation because people are going to want Dean more, and in fact want Dean more than him? And based on reactions in Anaheim last night, kind of sure seems like that's the case. People live said Dean got a monster pop. Everything he did. He was the guy opening the show. He was the guy squaring off with Stephanie. All of that stuff. That's reserved for Roman, right? And then Roman came out and Heyman cut a promo on him, and as soon as he started to open his mouth, they booed him. Again, the fact that he's getting booed isn't necessarily a major problem. John Cena gets booed.
Yeah.
It's, do they want to go into WrestleMania with the idea that they have a babyface challenger who's going to take the title from the evil overlord and get booed for it? If they don't want that, then maybe doing all of this to create doubt in the finish at Fastlane might not have been worth it. Right?
Yep.
So it's either way, it's fascinating for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
So when you just look, all of that works. All of that. I think it's funny that we were talking, separate the business and the booking from the story and all that stuff. Fuck, they're covering every base right now. Exactly. I'm fascinated by everything they're doing.
And this is what I was talking about when I say that NXT does the reality era right, because this is what they're usually able to do. They're actually able to use what we think we know as another layer of the story. And WWE, until really this Reigns story, has failed at that. But they've done that in the last 3 or 4 months with Roman and now with Dean added in. What I would say, and this is, I was arguing this last summer, I think this has just confirmed And I think in some ways, if you're rooting for Dean to win, if this works against him, because it's confirmed that he's over no matter what, right? He's got this, and in some ways, he's more over if he doesn't win.
Yes.
Because this is what got that Ziggler pop for a guy that it turns out 2 years later, most of us don't even really like Ziggler that much. We just liked the fact that we thought he was getting screwed.
Exactly.
But I think Dean is a guy that he's more of the, I mean, he's not the same kind of character that Daniel Bryan is, but he's the same combination of factors in that we really like him and he's getting screwed, so we like him more. So down the road, whether they choose to do that now or wait, he's going to get a massive pop when he does win. And I think the fact that he's able to sustain these stories is credit to him, that at some point they will go with him, but I don't know that they're going to go with him now.
That's an important distinction to make, because as much as people didn't want to ever say that or admit that about Daniel Bryan even, he was over as hell, at least in part. Not that he didn't deserve it, not that he wasn't good enough for it, not that he didn't get a good catchphrase over, or he didn't work his ass off. Of course he did. All of those things. He's wonderful in all those ways. He's also, at least in some ways, incredibly over just for the fact that they didn't let him get to the next level. And that's like that for a lot of people. We talked about that with Damian Sandow. That guy can stay over, and then people will see him and they'll cheer really loudly for him, and they'll immediately take to their Twitter and they'll go, "Gee, WWE, you'd think you got a star here." And I don't know if I'm not Vince sitting in the office going, "Gee, Mark, he's getting that cheer because we're not using him." So how much of that is how it is with Dean, I don't know. I think there's definitely a part of it, but it also means for the future that they can have him get beat and he can retain all of that love. And like you said, maybe even grow a little bit more to just keep holding it off. Now there is the danger, because there was a long time he was booked like shit.
Right.
And we were on the train of, I don't give a fuck about this guy at all. He's the Bengals. He's uninteresting. His wrestling, his offense, the recovery clothesline is still the dumbest thing that I've ever seen in a wrestling ring, other than Del Rio's finish, which, my God, Sin Cara should just quit the promotion after what Del Rio did him, after how dirty Del Rio did him last night. But yeah, so I think there is a fine line that you can walk there. But if anything, I feel like this story has helped catapult Dean to where he's further away from that line.
What I think what makes Dean different from Dolph or even Sandow, as much as I like Sandow, is that he can survive that being booked like shit.
Sure.
And I mean, the other thing is, and they did this with Bryan too, is even booking Dean like shit, is he's still in the Intercontinental title feud, or they're still sending the message that this guy's important. It's not Sandow who fucking has disappeared from television just because Hulk Hogan was a racist. Or Dolph, who can disappear for a while or get stuck in a storyline with a woman that is horrible or whatever. Not that the storyline is horrible because it has a woman in it, but it's WWE, so there you go. Dean has stayed prominent. He's, by being a guy who can feud with Rollins or a guy that can buddy up with Reigns, they tell us that he's important even when he's being a donk. So
it's also worth, I mean, the guys the more I get into wrestling, and I still somehow feel like I get kind of deeper and deeper as time goes along, doing this, whatever, and seeing more and being exposed to more. The guys I think I find myself appreciating the most are the people who can do well with very little. So we're watching the Summer Rae Page match, and the crowd is gone, right? And I get on Twitter and I go, the match is fine. Like, the work is fine. I saw people calling it a really bad match. So I didn't agree at all. I thought that, everything looked okay. It was laid out rather well. I mean, there was nothing wrong with it. The problem was the crowd just couldn't have given any less of a fuck about it. And then I thought about it for a second. I said, that's a problem. That's on the performers. And people go, no, if they had a story, we'd care. And I go, look, I get that. But, like, if I was to go to a show, a local little independent show, I probably wouldn't know any backstory for these people. And they would just be tasked with the idea, wrestling at a very base level, like we talked about with Bryan. Go make people like you, no matter what you're doing, or make them hate you, make them feel something either which way. And if you need a story to do that, if you need creative to get you there, I don't know that you're not. it's hard for me to buy into you as someone who's going to be a huge success. The guys who I think I appreciate the most are the Kevin Owens of the world, who I could someone could walk into a match with that dude, not know anything about him, and he'd have that person eaten out of the palm of his hand by the time he was done. It just doesn't matter. That's a good fucking performer. That dude is the guy you want to invest in, to me. And I think Dean's kind of one of those guys. I don't think he's as good as Owens. And then looking at it that way, Owens might be, to me, that having that revelation is like, fuck, that dude's like one of the best in the world then. Because he is absolutely, as a performer, there aren't many who are as good as Kevin Owens.
Right.
Dean's on that level, I think. So, and Roman's not. I was talking on Twitter with people today, and he's a guy who can't overcome bad creative. He needs the story to be just so to make him look exactly how it needs to make him look to be as good as they want him to be. Because he can't do it without that. And that's a problem because once we get past WrestleMania and he's the champ and they stick him in a fucking feud with Kane,
yep,
like they seem to do with every champ after WrestleMania, is he going to hold up? Are people going to want to watch him despite the fact that he's in a story we don't care about? I still wanted to watch Daniel Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
I still would want to watch Steve Austin doing first blood matches with a dude who has no exposed skin on his body. You know? I don't know if that'd be that they did that. Can you believe they booked that match? I was watching it the other day. A first blood match with a dude. There's no skin anywhere. He wears a full fucking face mask. What a wacky time in wrestling.
Yeah, it's like I said, if you can make somebody bleed through that, then you're really the guy.
Exactly. So yeah, thought that was fine.
I think to your Summer Rae Page point, I mean, I agree with you for the most part. I was thinking about that. A lot of people watched the either legally or illegally watched Kenny Omega and Tanahashi from New Japan on Sunday because it had Bullet Club implications, and it's sort of like what they're doing now that Styles and Nakamura are gone. And I think that's a good example of that too, where even if you had no background coming into it or very little, you immediately know who these guys are. You know, they've got that same. Both of those guys are. I mean, that's like watching Cena it's like watching the New Japan version of watching Cena fight Ambrose. Essentially, you just know what you're getting just by their performance. But in Summer Rae and Page's defense, I think some of the problem is not so much creative. It's a 20-year history of what WWE has told you to expect from that kind of a women's match in the middle of a 4-hour, 5-hour show, since they do whatever they film Superstars before Raw. So the audience has to take a breather at some point, and WWE has told them that that's the time to do it. I think if they always got that reaction, if neither of those performers had ever shown that they could get a reaction, that would be a problem. But since both of them have shown that they can, in Summer Rae's case, even with some shit creative, I don't think it's a total knock on them, but it doesn't. I wouldn't lump them in with Reigns in terms of. I think if you gave them enough exposure, they could get the reaction that you want. But anyway, yeah.
That's a good segue into Charlotte and Brie Bella, who had a big segment. And how did you feel about this? Because I thought A+.
I wouldn't go A+. I liked it though. They did a good job. Again, it's a situation where I'm almost positive that Charlotte's going over, but I wouldn't. They've created some doubt. They've turned a shoot into a work a little bit with that. I mean, I think they did a good job with what they had. I think they both could stand to grow a little bit. I think they both just kind of yell instead of actually acting. That's the cue that they're serious, is that they got louder. So I didn't love it as much as you did, but I thought it was a good segment. I thought it accomplished the goal of selling that match.
Couple things. I think there's this thought that just permeates throughout on Twitter, because that's where I spend most of my time. I do the recap as it happens, but I'm also on Twitter working social. Hashtag engagement.
Shareable content.
That's right. And it bugs me. It started to bug me last night, where I was like, this is the best these two can do. That's how I felt. Like if there's a scale or like a meter, and they're performing, and this is them at their worst, and this is them at their best. The meter was off the charts to their best. And people were still like, they're just so bad. They're just trash. They're just awful. The delivery is terrible and all these things. And I wonder how much of that is just past, you know, you think of them in a very certain way, and so when you see them and you hear them, you confirm every way you've ever thought of them, instead of just giving them the chance to change your mind or show you that there's more to it. And we are the most guilty of just dragging Brie through the mud. We've been accused of being very mean about Brie Bella and making fun of her all the time, and that she has a match every night against the English language and jobs every night. And it's funny and it's fun, whatever, fine. But I thought she was good. I mean, okay, sure, she over-enunciates some words. Who fucking doesn't? Brock Lesnar does a sit-down promo, and he sounds like the biggest idiot in the history of the world. And everyone's like, dude, him doing those sit-downs, greatest thing ever. Is it really? He sounds like he's dumb as fuck. It's Brock Lesnar, and you like Brock, and you know what he's capable of, and he's a big star, so you forgive that. You take all of that, and you use that to justify that he's good, despite something that you saw that was objectively bad. Now, I'm not saying it was a Rock and Austin confrontation. Obviously, that's not the case. But because it wasn't, doesn't mean it's bad. It was really fucking good. Something else someone said that really was like, what is fucking the matter with people was, well, they're just using the Bryan thing to get sympathy for her. Yeah. That's the point, peeps. What the fucking what? This is good business. Mm-hmm. These people okay, you're a businessman. You're trying to sell a match. I mean, would you rather have had Sasha versus Charlotte in a dumbass distraction finish with Flair leading into a rematch at Mania? I know I wouldn't. I'd much prefer they tell this story. Mm-hmm. Brie's sister is out with a potentially career-ending neck surgery. That's a shoot. Her husband's out with an actually career-ending head injury. That's a shoot. She's in a real bad spot, just as far as her actual real life. She's in a difficult situation now. She's been wanting to leave to go have kids. She's become the primary breadwinner in the family. She's the one who goes out and gets it done. What a powerful character this person could be. The woman who has to get things done because the man can't do it anymore. Boy, we've seen that reversed how many billions of times in the history of storytelling. And yet, here it is. And they're doing an interview, and they're like, you're the wrestler now. You're the one who goes and gets it done. And she's like, it's kind of terrifying, but I will do this for my family. It's like a flip of traditional gender roles. And I thought, how cool is that? And no one cares because, well, her delivery just sucks. And it just bugs me because it's like, dude, I feel like you're missing something potentially fulfilling as a story that we could find just because you want to reinforce your own opinion that Brie Bella sucks. Look, I get it. She's not great, but she was great if only for this segment. And I'm sorry, shithead Charlotte, dude, that was expert shitheading.
I noticed you liked the word shithead a lot.
Well, no, it's my buddy Mookie Alexander, who works for our sister site Bloody Elbow. He does, that's something he does a lot, and maybe it's Mike Fagan too. They call it shitheading, where it's like someone's just being a shithead, like you're just being like passive aggressively, like wink wink nudge nudge, fuck you, you're a douche kind of thing. And it's to go out there and to end with that look on her face that just makes you want to punt her like a football, with Rick right beside her doing the same thing with that stupid smile of his, and you want to just tackle his ass. And just being a total shithead and be like, I'll understand if you want to forfeit and go home and take care of your family. I mean, you should probably do that, right? I mean, you don't need to worry about this. And it's like, oh, you little fucker. Like, she's shitheading, dude. And then she's like, wait, why are you even wrestling anyway? You need the money. Oh, Brie, poor Brie. That's good shitheading. And no, again, it's not fucking, she's not going to win an Oscar. No, the acting's just so, but you're watching wrestling. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I thought it was really, really good, and then I see the response, and then I'm like, well, now I feel shitty because you fuckers are just like, this is terrible, when it's not. That was really good.
I think with Charlotte, I think she can do better, and I think she's getting better. So I think that's part of the critique there. I mean, like I said, I liked it. I do understand where you're coming from. I mean, I had that reaction yesterday. The first post I did on Brie's, at that point, rumored retirement plans, and there are actually people in there, and especially on Facebook, which is just fucking the hell on earth.
Cesspool.
Just, oh, good.
Yeah.
And, we get into that problem, and that's not a wrestling problem. That's a sports problem. That's a pop culture problem.
Human problem.
Once the narrative becomes something on somebody, it's almost impossible to break that. I mean, there are still people who won't acknowledge that Nikki Bella turned into a good wrestler. There are still, you see it in sports all the time where if a team was good, the Steelers have a reputation as being a good defense, so the lazier talking heads will always just say they have a good defense, even when that's empirically not true. So that the narrative, it's hard to shake that narrative, and I guess that's where Brie is. I mean, I still don't think we're overly mean to them. She did well last night. I mean, it's not. She's never going to be a great promo, but she took the story and she did what you're supposed to do with it. So kudos. I mean, yeah, but I think there's that shorthand of like somebody sucks at something, so I'm always going to make fun of them for it. Yeah, that's never going anywhere, and you just got to deal with it. Unfortunately, that's not a sign off. We're not signing off, everybody.
Yeah, your Batista reference in there.
I know. Well, sometimes it's true. I mean, certain people you're not gonna fucking change their mind because they think they're fucking clever and they know everything and whatever. I mean, those people aren't gonna enjoy a lot of things in life because they think they already know everything.
Yeah, and that's fine. It's valid if that's how you'd like to be, fine. But it's one of those rare times where I could feel like I could see the other side, where I've suddenly become more positive about what I've been seeing, and I've looked at it in a different way. And then other people kind of do what I would do before, and it's easy. It's low-hanging fruit is what they're doing.
And I think that where that is a problem, though, I don't know, problem is a big word, but that we have to be careful, and I think it's the role of people who want to see better women's wrestling and better storylines for women is that you have to fight back against that because, like I said, like when we were talking about Summer and Paige, that's been the case for 20 years or whatever, is that they have gotten shit stories that aren't really worth investing in. So when they're doing good work with good stories, we have to fight against that knee-jerk reaction from people who've been trained to just hate about it for no reason, because don't just hate about it for no reason, because they're actually doing something good, and it's never going to change if you just, even when they give you good stuff, you say it sucks.
Yeah, that's the role we played essentially, where that's, hey, WWE, you should give us some credit. Fuck. Yeah. We're helping you get the Becky stuff over, because I've been fighting people on Twitter left and right going, that's the same old bitches be crazy stuff, and I'm like, what are you even watching? What an outdated criticism. And even here, you know what? The Divas got 3 segments on this show. Mm-hmm. Yep. 2 matches and a really good promo in a prime spot. Now, you could argue about the quality of those matches. Again, I thought Paige and Summer was a good match. I did not think they did a good job as performers as far as getting the crowd involved or getting the crowd to care. Yes, part of that is on WWE. When I said earlier that it's on the performer, I don't want to, I'm not defending WWE and saying, well, they have no... they get no blame for that. They certainly do. That's absolutely a part of it on a show where it's a weekly program and these people have to have stories. Also, that said, though, this looked clearly to me like it was the beginning of something, like it was done to start something, or it was obviously not the continuation of anything. Therefore, they should be given the benefit of the doubt in a situation like that. Because if you're just going, well, how does this make sense? Well, why don't you fucking wait a minute? It's literally the first thing that's happened in this story. Do you read the first page of a book and go, his name's Dave? How does that make sense? Like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes the criticisms are so fucking stupid that it does make you want to go, please go stare at the grass in your yard. That's more productive for you than complaining about something you don't have a clue what you're talking about. So, but yeah, I mean, there's been progress. And we just have to acknowledge it. And Charlotte and Brie had an outstanding segment. Did a great job of, just like the main event, adding unpredictability to the finish. Brie's retiring here in the summer, apparently, and people think it means she's definitely either going to win. It's funny, I've seen both. Well, she's definitely winning now. Yeah. And then the other person's like, fuck, way to give it away. She's totally going to lose. And it's like, it's funny to see those two competing, and they're both so sure. And it's like, what a wonderful little side story to that. I like it. Mm-hmm. Anything else from Raw before we get to the other stuff? Because I want to talk to you about some other stuff because we haven't talked since the other stuff.
I don't know what. I mean, I saw
What was that sound?
I wasn't ready for that. No, I mean, there's other stuff. I mean, like you said, I think the first 2 hours were solid. What I've seen of I like that some people are acknowledging that Chris Jericho isn't the worst thing on the fucking face of the earth again.
Man, they should dump JBL and just throw as much money as they need to get Jericho on commentary. He is just best at. He's the best guest commentator they've had since. Well, Becky had a really good spot, but it's years. I can't think of a better spot. That dude is unbelievably good in that role.
He does know the business. He's not a fucking. I mean, I know everybody just because he turned 40, everybody thinks he forgot everything, but you know.
You're so fucking bitter.
That's like you said. Sometimes things just irk you on the internet, and that whole backlash. He's the worst fucking ever. Like, no, he's not. Calm down. This isn't.
It isn't that he turned 40.
But, well, I don't know. Well, something happened. I mean, I guess it's the repeated returns or whatever.
Rudy Tooty Booty happened, Sean.
People were chanting that last night, dude. Just because we don't like it doesn't mean it doesn't work.
That's fair.
I mean, you know. So I'm glad that we've recognized the fact that this guy is a really good fucking pro wrestler. Even if he annoys you right now, that doesn't negate the fact that he's good at his job.
Again, and you're right, and the writing was tight and really well done, and everyone's performed really well with what they've been asked to do as far as the AJ, Miz, Jericho thing. And I remember people were...
And there are still people who won't acknowledge that Miz has been great in this, because Miz sucks. That's the story. So, no, he doesn't.
Although it's kind of funny, if you go to the Cageside Twitter, I think 2 weeks ago maybe it was, or a week ago or whatever, when I said, boy, Miz is a better promo than Jericho at this point, and it's not even close. And a bunch of the responses were... Miz is one of the best promos on the roster. And I didn't know that so many people had that goes against the point you just made.
True. Yeah. I mean,
it just shows that it's working. It's showing that he actually is. They've given him the chance to do that, and they've put him in good positions, and he's just delivered. The dude just delivers. And yeah, as far as that story goes, I don't know that you could ask for more. I think the writing's been really good. They put Jericho on commentary, and he did more to get Styles over in 2 commentary appearances on SmackDown and Raw than anything else they've done. Styles is just a really fucking fantastic wrestler who makes you care about the matches. I'm sorry, it sounded like something just hit my house.
I know, yeah. Are you having a seizure or something?
Something just hit my house. I'm just sitting in my living room and it sounded like something just blasted my house. No, so he's having these sorry about that. He's having these fantastic matches. And Miz, people were scared of him jumping in. They go, I don't want Styles, Miz. And then they've had really good matches. He knocked the dude's fucking teeth out, which was fun. Because, I mean, it's Miz, good. Fuck your moneymaker. And
well, he had that interview with Gerald Butler last night, so.
Oh my God, WWE. How do you have a gigantic Hollywood star botch his name?
Keith Slater.
Oh, fuck you.
Yeah. Well, I'm just making a moment of levity there. So no, I mean, I know obviously Gerard Butler is a bigger star than Heath Slater.
That was a very good moment of brevity from you, Sean.
Thank you. That's what I'm here for. Is your house all right?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
All right.
I'll check when we get done. But no, so yeah, everything about that whole thing's been good, and they actually built to SmackDown. I don't know if I want to have a match with you. We'll wait for SmackDown. And no, Styles isn't being buried. They're going to do the match at Fast. It's funny. I'll answer you on SmackDown and on Facebook. They're already promoting it.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is like whatever. So.
Well, I guess, I mean, certain people don't, I have gotten pissed at WWE for spoiling stuff on social before, but a lot of people don't follow them on social. So it still works for some folks.
But I did like that Jericho was like, I don't even know if I need to have a match with you. I already beat you. And Styles was like, okay, come on, bro. Like, I beat you. You fucking, you need to do this. And it's the veteran doesn't know if he wants to take on the new cat in town. It just works.
And it's a little heelish. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So that's Raw, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Henry might be hurt. You posted an update on that. Can you update me?
Meltzer says that he is definitely hurt, but we don't know the extent of it.
That sucks.
Yeah, so it looks like that. It looks like it is a rib thing. I don't know. I watched that match back. I mean, he definitely does a lot of things after the splashes that everybody's pointing to as what hurt him. So who knows? I mean,
he got up for the big ending and then just collapsed off.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, something's wrong. And he's like, I better just pin the guy.
Yep.
and looked very concerned. And then was right on Twitter, kayfabe. I pinned a strongman with a slip slam or some shit like that.
But no, I mean, you can tell Xavier and Big E are immediately like, get him some help. And Kofi's
and it's sad because he's leaving soon, man. He's done, and he's not going to sign a new deal to be a wrestler. And it would suck if his career ended like this.
I mean, he's been talking about how he wants to go out after Mania in his home state, and this could be the thing that keeps him from working Mania in his home state. It's a fucking bummer. Hopefully it's not a big deal, but we'll see.
They probably would have just put him in the Andre Rumble anyway.
Yeah, I mean they let him build up to a big Rumble moment, and then screwed him onto the pre-show, and at least he went over. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay, anything else from Raw?
I don't know. I mean, do you want to talk about Michelle Beadle at all? Does that count as Raw, or is that something else?
That's something else. But is there anything to?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just curious what you thought. I mean, I don't know. I haven't had a chance to do a whole lot of research on it.
Mark Madden got into it with her today.
I saw that. Yeah.
Which I don't understand. I mean, I like Michelle. Okay, full disclosure, I like Michelle Beadle.
Mm-hmm.
We've interacted with her. She follows us on Twitter.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of the work that she does. I appreciated where she was coming from when she did the very public split from WWE. I think I'm the one who wrote the story on it on Cageside, where she said, look, she had been in the situation with Mayweather where I believe she was denied access of some sort because of being critical of Mayweather's past history of domestic abuse. And I don't even need to say alleged. I mean, he did. No.
Yep.
Noted that Floyd Mayweather is kind of a trash human being in his personal life and has never bothered to care to change that. Michelle Beadle has never bothered to care to say that very publicly, which I think she should be applauded for. And then Triple H and WWE supported Floyd Mayweather in his last fight, or there was a fight, maybe it was against Pacquiao. And Beadle said, you know what, I'm done. I love WWE, I love wrestling, they've been good to me, but this is fucking ridiculous. That you would, Triple H, a husband, a loving father of 3 girls, would support a boxer who has the record Floyd Mayweather has. And I thought, you know what, I can't blame her. Because it feels weird to me sometimes. I was talking to my lady friend the other night and bringing up the Stone Cold stuff and how uncomfortable it is to think that Stone Cold, a kind of a hero of mine, has done those things. He got in trouble for beating up his old lady, and that sucks. But I guess with him, you can say, I can't hold everybody to some standard where something you did 15 years ago, I'm going to just rule you out I'm going to call you a bad human being today. The difference with Mayweather is there's been no effort to change.
It's a continued pattern. It's not a one-time, Yeah,
it's not, in the midst of a whatever career and maybe drug influence and maybe all these things. There's no, and I'm not trying to excuse any behavior of that. That's wrong. You hit a woman and you're a man, you're wrong. Don't hit people.
Right.
Violence is wrong. But I have a deep loathing for a man who'd hit a woman. So, and Mayweather just doesn't seem to care. Well, Beadle, fuck this. Fuck all of you then. You suck. Why could you do that? That's terrible, and I'm done with your shit. I'm done. And that sucks because she's an ally at ESPN. They've got a great relationship that they're building with ESPN, and they've had to do it all through Coachman instead of Beadle. And finally, Raw was in Anaheim last night. Beadle was at the show, and they very publicly made it clear that they had a conversation, and they made up. I do think it's interesting because Floyd Mayweather retired. So there's no longer any chance for WWE to try to leech some heat, to try to get some publicity, to try to get over using another Floyd Mayweather fight. Now that that's done, we'll make up with Michelle Beadle. There's a jaded part of me that... I mean, that's my question. I mean, that's where I was curious where you're come from, because I have this problem with a lot of things. We talked about it last week with the Daniel Bryan thing. I love this and another activity where I know the guys doing it are in danger. And so I'm just curious, as a fan of WWE and Michelle Beadle, I would like to hear, since she was so clear on her reasons for the split, I would like to hear her reasons for it now being okay to come back. So I don't think she owes that to us. I mean, she can do whatever she wants, but as somebody who does look at everything in business with a little bit of side eye, because I think the real reason is fucking money, grease,
some palms, I guess. I mean, overtly or subtly. You know, she works for a company that's doing more and more business with WWE, so now she's back. I mean, maybe just say that. I don't know. I mean, I would like to hear what she doesn't owe it to us, but I would like to hear what's changed.
I think she could just say the truth, which is
probably
which is probably that Triple H and the WWE came together and said, we want to do business with her.
Yep.
And then we need to have a conversation, and called her. And Beetle, she's an adult. They're adults. Said, okay, I'm willing to have a conversation, but we do need to have a conversation. And they sat down, and like adults, they worked it out. Yep. I mean, again, you don't just like pass off people who are, just because they do something you don't like, and never again have any sort of level of openness to reconciling that. That's not how adults operate in the world.
And I would like to hear her say, I mean, I guess what I would really like to hear more than anything is for her to say that she loves pro wrestling and she loves WWE, and she's interested in trying to make sure that they don't back somebody like Floyd Mayweather again, and that in order to be an influence, she's got to be in the tent having the conversations.
Do you think that's her role, though?
I think so. I mean, not to get big-headed, but I kind of see that as our role too, in terms of trying to keep them honest. And I think she can do that better as somebody who's in Triple H and Stephanie's ear than she can as somebody who's boycotting them. So, I don't know. I would be curious. I would like to hear that side of it, I guess, and I don't know that I ever will. But
reach out to her.
I think that's what gives the impression. The cynicism, multiplies when you don't hear anything, because then we just assume it's just because they're doing business. And like you said, I think everybody would respect her a little bit more if she came out and said, "Yeah, we're doing business." And I also think that I can be an influence positively. I mean, I hope that Stephanie's like that in conversations. I think WWE would be better off with more women in positions of any kind of power and influence. I think that's part of why the Diva stories suck, is because they haven't. They've been written by white men. So let's get some women, hopefully women of color too, but for starters, some fucking women in there to have a voice. And, I'm not saying she's going to be on the creative team, but if she's somebody who is an active partner of theirs in business, I think then she would have some influence, and that's a good thing. So
I agree.
That's my rant on that.
Cool.
What did you want to talk about? We're already over an hour. Oh, Titus.
Titus. I would Titus. I'd like to hear your take on it, because I talked about this at length on the Talking Sheet podcast.
Big time.
Sheetsandwich.com. Go look for that.
Big time.
Yeah, they cover the coverage of wrestling, so they were obviously interested in talking to me. No, but I talked about it at length there, but I haven't talked about it here with all my lovely Cagesiders and my even lovelier Sean. What'd you think about it, man? How'd you feel? First of all, first question.
Yeah.
You agree with the suspension?
No.
Not at all?
I don't agree with how it was handled at all. I guess so. I don't. I mean, So then
you do agree with the suspension?
If it was me, and I was just like their PR consultant, I would have pulled everybody in and said, we need to take a deep breath and think about how this is going to be received. And I wasn't there. I don't know what there's different stories about what Titus's intent was and blah blah blah. So just say, that wasn't the time or the place for it, which I don't think it was, regardless of his intent. Okay, let's suspend him for 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know. I think even 60 days, I think, is excessive. I think it opens them up to all kinds of criticism. I think, and we talked about this in the Cageside offices, I think if the intention was to send a message to everybody that this is serious business and don't fuck with it, and that there were all of these other people who needed this message sent to them, right? Doing it to Titus after this incident is just distracting from the incident itself. So pick another guy to punish and do it in front of the locker room. The public doesn't need to see any of this. So if they want to suspend him, that's their right, and they can. I probably wouldn't have, though. I probably would have called him up on it and, done something else. I don't know. Just making it this public just opens up this whole can of worms. It distracts from the Bryan thing. I don't necessarily think it's racist, but I understand people who see it that way. and I think that's dumb on their part.
There's no racial component to this. I don't think there is.
Well, I mean, I can't say that.
I mean, that's probably unfair for me to say. There's just
I'm assuming that all of these other guys that needed a message sent to them are not all black, right? So why did you pick the black guy?
He's the one who fucked up. Here's what I'd say.
And, I mean, but the rumor is that lots of guys are fucking up, right?
Sure, that's the word going around. Here's what I'd say. Having fleshed this out and had time to think about it and formulate my opinion and my final sort of idea here, they were totally justified. They could have fired him. That would have been justified. And Vince apparently wanted to. And he was going to fire the guy at Triple H and Joey Mercury, I think, what I read and heard from PW Torch.
Yep.
Talked him out of it. Said, let's. That would be bad PR. Again, it's justified. That'd make us look like shit. 90 days seems excessive to me, yes. Maybe even 60 is excessive, yes. However, again, I'm sympathetic to Titus for a number of reasons. However, he's wrong. He made a very big mistake, and he absolutely deserved to be reprimanded for it.
Well, let me play devil's advocate for you, because who was upset about this until the suspension came out?
That doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
You're saying he made, what's his huge mistake? What is the huge mistake?
Okay, for those who may not know or need caught up, do the quick rundown of what happened. They do the Daniel Bryan retirement speech.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone comes out onto the stage. They're clapping for him. They make an alleyway for Daniel Bryan to walk to the back too. He walks to the back. The camera pans over. Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, and Triple H, people in charge, WWE, start walking to the back to close out as they fade away to end the segment. As Vince McMahon is walking back, Titus O'Neil grabs his arm. He holds him from going to the back. It looks like he yanks him backwards almost. He doesn't. He just stops him from walking to the back. Vince pushes him off. Titus appears to laugh, and then everyone looks around kind of confused. Some people are laughing, whatever, and then everything goes away. It's later comes out, Ryan Satin from Pro Wrestling Sheet reported that Titus said he was simply telling Vince that Stephanie needed to go first. It was an act of chivalry, whatever. You should let Stephanie walk to the back first. That's what occurred. Here's the problem, and of which there are many. First of all, you don't grab your boss. You don't grab another human being like that. All right? You don't do it. That's your boss. That's physically, you grabbed him and stopped him from going where he was trying to go. In any scenario, not acceptable. However, you did this in front of everybody in an arena of thousands and thousands of people. That's not acceptable. You also did it on TV. That's not acceptable. You also did it in a situation to where they were trying to get a shot. They were filming something that they're going to use for business later, right? And you fucked that up because suddenly the chairman of the motherfucking board's getting yanked backwards because of whatever reason you had. That's not acceptable. The fact that you think it's okay for you to decide who should walk to the back is not acceptable. That's Vince's daughter. And she is also your boss. That's not your place. Unacceptable. If it is just horseplay, you picked the worst time imaginable to engage in it. A man had just retired because his brain is damaged, because his brain is injured. It was a hugely emotional scene. Everything went off without a hitch. It was probably the greatest segment in the history of Monday Night Raw. And they were this close to getting to the end of it with all the class and grace you never expect from WWE when suddenly the boss, the guy in charge, is yanked backwards by a man who thought it was his place to say, no, your daughter should walk to the back first. If, in fact, it's true that there were a bunch of people in other scenarios who were acting in a way that they felt like they needed to send a message, I don't even have a problem with that. Because, again, this is a professional situation. You're a professional. You need to act professionally. You did not. Therefore, you're gone. It's really that simple. So when you look at all of those things and combine them together, you go, you know what? Why is everyone acting like WWE's in the wrong here? They're not. Titus was in the wrong. You picked the worst time imaginable to do something like that. You don't grab your boss. You don't. And then they're like, well, Vince pushed him. How's that okay? What do you do if someone grabs you up? Get off me. You push them away from you. So when I look at it all and I analyze it and I think about it, I go, Titus has no defense here. None. Totally would have been right to fire him. Would have been, I don't know about right, but it would have been totally acceptable to let him go. You can't do that. You just can't. In every way he could be wrong here, he's wrong.
I don't disagree with any of that, but we would not.
But don't suspend him at all.
Well, no, I mean, here's my argument for that is whatever. And like I said, I don't know what went on behind the scenes. I don't know what the, I don't know what Titus's relationship with Vince is, any of that. I don't care. The fact is that you still have all that stuff that you said is still true, right? I mean, this is still the great scene and blah, blah, blah. This is 2 seconds at the end of the overrun on WWE Network. It was happening while the logo's on the screen. You can edit that out. No problem. It doesn't change the quality of all that other stuff. And I'm not saying this to defend Titus's actions. I'm saying this is why suspending him and announcing it was a boneheaded move on WWE's part, because the whole conversation changed from Daniel Bryan's touching retirement and WWE's proactive stance on concussions to, oh my God, they suspended Titus, not because of that 2 second push. That wasn't a conversation until the suspension announcement came out. Everything up until that point was, if anyone noticed it at all, they were like, oh, that was cute. And that's hardcore fans on the internet who are, watching to the very end and debating that every little interaction between wrestlers. So suspend him. Fine. Do whatever you got to do. Do it behind the scenes. Wait a little while to do it. You're the one, you derailed your entire public relations thing. And this story got play in the New York Post and other places. It wasn't just a little tiny internet conversation. It's a big fucking deal. And people are talking about it. And you're just now getting the conversation back onto your concussion protocols and what a great company you are. A week later, you lost a week of fucking media on this because you couldn't control yourself. And I mean, Vince, like, you couldn't control your temper to make this point, your ego, for a week or two. I mean, if the news comes out next week, like Titus just isn't on TV, and then the news comes out next week that they suspended him for this, you've got a whole different conversation.
They didn't announce it, though. It was reported. They just confirmed it when
but they know.
What else could they do? He got to SmackDown and they sent him home.
You can so just don't say anything. Refuse to comment. There's no suspension. They're the ones that changed the conversation.
I get what you're saying, but they're still not wrong. I think maybe they must have thought, like, when you do look at it, you go, how can these people not understand how wrong this is? How can they think that it's totally okay? However, I do have sympathy for Titus and anyone that works for WWE in the sense that we've all heard the stories and we've all been made aware of the fact that Vince McMahon likes to be one of the boys. He'll do the ribs with you. He'll horseplay with you. He'll be like your buddy. He'll be like your friend. But he's also your boss. Now, I understand that puts them in a precarious position, I suppose, right? Like, there's a line that you have to understand when the difference is when it's acceptable for you to play around with that man and treat him like one of the boys, and when it's acceptable for you to, or when it's not acceptable for that to happen. Because he is your boss, and you are in a situation where you need to act like a professional. You need to not engage in this kind of thing. It's just not your place. So I'm sympathetic towards that, and maybe that is the case. Maybe it's a scenario where a bunch of people have been doing that. I know you say, well, why do you make Titus the example? Because he's the one who fucked up the most publicly, where he did it in front of everybody. And they can point to it and go, hey, everybody, this is exactly what we're talking about. As I totally understand a scenario where Vince goes to bed and goes, I'm tired of this. You guys got to understand, you can't do this. And it needs to be clear. And the only way you make it clear that it's not acceptable and you can't do it is you lay down the fucking law. You drop the hammer. You don't do it with a piddly-ass 1 week suspension, because a piddly-ass 1 week suspension is not going to stop anyone from doing anything because it's a week off. That's not a big deal. You know what? He's gone for 3 months. He's lucky he's not fired and he's not making WrestleMania. He misses out on that payday. You guys got to understand you can't do this. And we're not putting up with it anymore.
You know what doesn't send that message, though?
What?
Is immediately backtracking when you get some backlash to 60 days.
having.
If you're gonna lay down the fucking hammer, then if I go with your thinking, then he should have been fired outright, and there should have been no conversation about it.
Wouldn't have been wrong either.
I mean,
it would have been bad PR, but they wouldn't have been wrong.
I think the way that they did it, and this is me coming from a marketing PR perspective, is I think they screwed up every which way on this. I mean, whatever message you need to send, that's an HR issue, and you need to do it. But as somebody who's worried about public image, which that's what this is all about.
They got blasted if they'd have waited a week, though, right? I mean,
why?
But they're gonna. Well, why'd you wait? Why didn't you just handle it at the time, right? I mean, there's
because I don't think any. Anyone who thinks that this was like a big deal waiting to happen, I just disagree. I think it was a couple of people on the internet making jokes with GIFs and things. I don't think this was. There's no way that that a little grab at the end of the credits gets into the fucking New York Post. If you want to make something go away, you try to ignore it. And so, from a media perspective, I would have ignored it for a week, and I don't think anybody would have said, well, why'd you wait a week? I think you would have gotten the same sort of public relations backlash, but you would have had all that time focused on Daniel Bryan and concussion.
Okay, but that's us. It's not a big deal to us. To them, it is a big deal. To them, insubordination like that can't stand. You cannot be allowed. We talk about this a lot. The chain of command is everything. You need to respect the people who are above you, and that they are above you. That's how you have a smooth operation. You can only have a smooth operation under that scenario. If you don't, you have nothing. So to us, yeah, it's not a big deal to me that Titus grabbed him up. I don't care, whatever. But I'm not
arguing that. I'm not.
You kind of are though, because you're saying there was no big deal there, and they shouldn't have made this a big deal.
No, I'm saying. Well, that's what. There's two separate things though. There's HR. There's human resources and how you deal with your employees.
Oh, okay.
There's what gets out to the public.
Okay.
So I'm saying deal with it. But do it in a way that it does. I mean, if you sent Titus home from SmackDown, just send him home from SmackDown. And if anybody from the media comes to you and say, "Did anything happen there?" just say that's an internal matter. We're not talking about it to you.
So you're saying there's a difference between. Okay, so you're saying it should have been handled, and it treat it with that sort of gravity, but do so in such a manner that it avoids making it into. This
they made it the story, right?
Firestorm. Okay.
Yep.
That's fine. That's fair.
I'm not judging their what. Like I said, whatever they need to do from a discipline perspective is their call. I just think they screwed the pooch in terms of the corporate messaging here, which is what this was really all about to them, because this was their big splash moment to say we're better than the NFL. You know, we're ahead of things on concussions, and we're gonna, even though we're behind this guy and we fought to keep him healthy and all this other stuff. And instead of that conversation continuing, the conversation became Vince is an egomaniac and maybe a racist. And I'm not saying I agree with those arguments, but that's what happened.
Yeah, it did.
And somebody who knew that would happen or could predict that could have happened should have been in the room before the suspension happened. It shouldn't have been this knee-jerk fucking thing that blew up.
Or maybe they should release a statement even because he's, dude won the Dad of the Year thing and they were pushing him because of that. And he's done, I don't think there's been, how many stories have we done on the site where it's Titus fed a bunch of homeless people, stuff like that. Yeah. He's got a good standing, in pretty much every community.
Yep.
And which is, again, that's a huge backlash. Maybe they should have come out and said, we've come to expect exemplary behavior from him. And on this night, he did not show that. And it was a grave, a somber, solemn occasion, whatever, and
I'm sure if they would have went to him and said, "We need your apology for this statement," he'd have given it to him. And then it's a whole different thing, It's
his only addressing it was indirect. It was a Bible verse. It was sort of indirect.
And there's a alleged quote from him too. I mean, they just could have handled it. I mean, like I said, whatever you want to do is fine. I just would have handled it differently.
I wouldn't have fired him, and I don't think I'd even suspended him for 90 days maybe. I mean, but I guess I don't think they're wrong, and I see where they're coming from. But yeah, I guess it's like you said, your background kind of shows that that they did. Obviously, they fucked up how they handled it because, well, we got a shitload of hits out of it.
It was a huge story last week.
Yeah,
and some people might have been talking about the goofy push, but not to the extent that people talked about the suspension.
Almost as big as Bryan. It was almost as big as the Bryan retirement, which is kind
of over. It totally took over that conversation.
considering the level of star Titus O'Neil is, he's not really.
No,
I mean, that sounds. I don't mean to sound mean in any way. He's just not really a big deal in the wrestling world, and they made him a big deal by doing that. And it's a strange situation because again, they're not wrong, but it's just the way it kind of came out was, people were calling for WWE heads, man. They were like, Vince he's so out of touch. He needs to step down. He can't run this company. And I felt like that was a massive overreaction, but a lot of people thought their reaction was a massive overreaction.
Well, I think that's part of it too, is that people saw this. I mean, you're trying to make this point about what a proactive, safe company you are with the Bryan thing, and then you suspend a guy for this more than what you suspend guys for drugs. I mean, it's a perspective. I mean, the way that they did this, there's so many ways that public perception could turn on it that they should have taken a deep breath and thought it through a little bit better.
Yeah. But that is part of it though too, where it's like we're counting on us to be professional and to be very, we want to look better, and we can't even count on our guys to get through the whole segment without fucking around.
Yeah. With
the boss, the dude who's the face and leader of all this. So yeah, again, when you kind of look at it through those glasses, it certainly looks much worse than it actually is. Was there anything else? That was the big one I wanted to get your take on.
I don't know.
From this past week, Joey Ryan's in Lucha Underground. That's interesting.
That's
he's a cop.
he's got lollipops and sunglasses.
He's the fuzz.
Yep.
And he's still got that fucking lollipop. And he's wrestling this week, and that's fine. The ladder match or the last Lucha standing match was really good.
Mm-hmm. It's a good show. We had two good shows last Wednesday night because Bailey did her usual magic. And
did you want to talk about your girl for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean that's all. I mean, people should just go watch it. I mean, she took somebody who's a learning wrestler, but made him look like $1 million, and also got people fucking salivating for her next match. Which a lot of that credit goes to Asuka too, but Bailey's really, really fucking good at pro wrestling, and she could, if they don't fuck her up, which they might, but maybe not, because like we said, there's good signs that they're figuring out that women are marketable as pro wrestlers and how to tell those stories. I mean, Bailey could be like a sea change important person in the history of wrestling, I think, if things go right, because she really gets this and she connects to people in a way that people like Bryan do. And I mean, I like her a lot.
I like her a lot. She's really great. Yeah. And then the Asuka interaction was just, I did multiple stories on that.
Yep.
Romanticized it like
I don't know, because there's more stories going around today about Finn and maybe Joe both getting called up after Mania, and that's probably your main event. But man, I don't envy those guys trying to follow Asuka and Bailey at Dallas if that's how it goes.
Really think it's. I don't see how Bailey wins.
I don't either, but
I don't think she can. I think that to me that's the story, that you to look at that and Bailey is heroic because she's staring into the eyes of the Grim Reaper. And you don't beat the Grim Reaper. He's undefeated. She's undefeated. And you lose, but you're heroic because you fight anyway.
Asuka, Bailey's going to go over Asuka at some point, I think, because there's more money in Bailey long term. I mean, I love Asuka, but she's older and she doesn't speak English, so
she's Brock, dude.
Bailey's more important to WWE long term, so she's going to go over at some point. But it may be on the main roster 2 years from now. We'll see. I mean, a lot of that depends on what the plans are. I mean, there's obviously a lot of people that are ready for a call up in Finn, Joe, Bailey, and it's crazy. It's crazy we're even talking about Joe as a call up because he's fucking Joe and he's 34, 5, 8 years old, however old he is.
That was a big jump, dude.
Yeah, I don't know how old he is. He's been around for a long goddamn time and whatever. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. NXT remains in an interesting place because who knows?
He's like 31 or maybe 39, whatever.
He's an age that is a 3 with another number after it. I just don't. It could be anything. It could be 14. He could be 314. I don't even know.
Coming up this week, we've got I'll be on, I think, is it this week's episode? I'm doing Bill's show.
You're doing Rudo Radio, but I don't know. That's big time too. He tapes in advance. You might not be on there for months. I don't know. No, I think he usually, especially before a pay-per-view, I think he does like a preview show. So I don't even want it. It should be tomorrow.
I don't even want to do it. No, and then Fastlane's this
Big
weekend,
time.
so we've got plenty of good stuff coming up for you, Cagesiders. Sean,
Yeah.
can you do me a favor?
What's that?
Can you sing a song for me?
Nope.